Presence of quorum, I will call this meeting to order. Good evening. It is Tuesday, January 26, 2021 at 7:02 p.m. This open meeting of the Acton Finance Committee is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth and the local state of emergency declared by the Acton Board of Selectmen and Board of Health due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, the Board of Selectmen have suspended all public gatherings, and in accordance with the Governor's order, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The Governor's order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations and/or public board committee votes of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment at the beginning. For this meeting is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the meeting agenda, town's website calendar, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda, if applicable. After they conclude their remarks, I will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Okay. It is now a time for citizen comments. If anyone would like to make any, I don't see any indication that anyone has a hand up, so we'll move on to the first agenda item, which is John Benson speaking to us about updates for the Kmart parcel.
Good evening, all. Hi. Christy forwarded to all of you the Kmart parcel update statement that I presented to the select board last night, and I assume that you have read through it. So I'm not sure. So with that basic knowledge, let me tell you then what happened at our meeting last night.
John, in case not everyone has had a chance to, could you please do just a very brief
an overview to it? Okay, sure. We learned at the beginning of this year, or at the beginning of this month, that the Colonial Auto Group, the local outfit that had exercised an option agreement to purchase the property, it was either their option ran out or they decided not to go forward with the purchase. I don't know the reason forward. I know they were struggling with it throughout the year because we did keep in touch as to when we might hear from them. Then we heard that Ocean State Job Lot had signed what's called a letter of intent to purchase, which is not a legal or binding document. It's just an expression of intent that we're interested in buying the property for such and such a price, and we'll do our due diligence and we'll be back to you. The seller that doesn't sign that. So John and Selby and Kristen Gouchard met with representatives of Ocean State Job Lot on January 12th, and the purpose was to gauge the town's interest in their purchase of the Kmart parcel and putting in an Ocean State Job Lot store there. And the plan was to put in 40,000 square foot facility. The Kmart site is about a little over 60,000, and they'd either rent out the other 20,000 or use it as a storage facility. And additional plans would have been to have a fast food restaurant occupy the old McDonald's building and bring that back. I expressed to them that as we had done our outreach on the infrastructure project, which would certainly benefit any future owner of the parcel, that the two things the members of the community did not want, was large-scale housing on the parcel or another discount store. They just felt it was just, you can come up with a better use. And we were able to stifle the large-scale housing by hitting the 40B affordable housing threshold. And the wild card then became is a discounter going to come in there because it's zone commercial. All any discounter would have to do would be clean up the inside of the store, wash the windows, and put up a new sign, perhaps spruce up the parking lot. So, that was always out there. And I said, based on the experience that we had, the goal of the, community was, it was our last developable commercial parcel in town, and many viewed it as a very special place to do something very special with, and that it would be along with the infrastructure project, it would be the linchpin for other development in the Kelly's Corner revitalization effort, and I expressed the view that it would not be, welcomed, by the larger community. We thought we could do better than that. And they certainly reminded us that, hey, look, we could buy it and as a matter of right, do what we want on the parcel. We're not looking for any permits from you people. And we said, yeah, okay, we understand that. And then we, heard last Friday that they had withdrawn their letter of intent. And in the subsequent time, we got inquiries from several developers with some interesting ideas. One was let me just go to my notes so I got it right here. One was a senior living continuum care development of 115 to 120 rental units, plus 10,000 feet of retail and restaurant space. The second one was a 200 square foot life science center. They'd have to enlarge the Kmart parcel, the Kmart building to do that, with a component for retail and restaurants. Then a general mixed use proposal for housing and retail using a repurposed Kmart building. And then another assisted living memory care facility with 71 and 2 bedroom units with no plans for adding, retail. And what I expressed in the update memo was that we do have this exposure to, discount chains without much control over them, other than, perhaps this is not going to be a good fit. And then we also have to recognize that since 2018, 2019, circumstances have changed, and that the pandemic has further underscored the unrealistic financial viability of a standalone real estate development, with restaurants. And it was drummed into me when we met with the Stop and Shop people in May of 2019 that any Stop and Shop or any developer is going to have to, well, not Stop and Shop because they own the parcel, but any other developer is going to have to recoup their purchase price of the property, which here is as much as $6 million with no contingencies in the deal. So you buy the property and get your own permits. We're not holding back on it. That's not a reason to, get out of the purchase agreement. And that they're going to have to make a profit on it. And traditional retail, with restaurants was far too risky a proposition, and that's only been exacerbated by the pandemic. So I presented this to the board last night, and my closest colleague on the board, Dean Charter, turns and says, "Well, I think Ocean State's a great idea. What are you talking about?" "Well, I love it." And I said, "Okay, buddy." And then I think Jim Snyder Grant said, "No, it is a place," and I certainly understand that Kmart served a segment of our community on a regular basis, and I think all of us in our households have been in and out of there during the course of a year, for particular items, and I didn't mean it to be snotty or elitist. And then there were a number of people in the audience speaking up, and they said, "Well, I'm familiar with Ocean State Job Lot, and that's good. And or better yet, why don't we look at other discount stores? That would why should we have to go to other towns to go to this store or that store, and why don't we bring one here? It will be used and serve the community very, very well." And then we did get on our BOS shell, comments from members. I think they were following up on Marian Maxwell's email saying, seniors, get your comments in, and then others on my personal email, all of them, pushing, various, discount stores with, Target seeming to be in the lead. So, when you're a member of the select board, you have to, come there with an open mind and no agenda. So, we've got to be open to suggestions and ideas that members of the community put forward. So I was just finishing up my BOS updates for that meeting. That should go out tomorrow, apprising them of where we are and what happened last night, and soliciting, general citizen comments. Either join us at the meeting, or just send us in emails with your thoughts and ideas ahead of next Monday's meeting. So I'd like to hear from all of you as to what you think.
Sahana, you had wanted to say something. Do you want to say it now or just get to it later? Go ahead.
No, I do want to say, I do want to clarify something. I wanted to clarify on a Facebook post that I was called on last night after I made a comment on the Kmart parcel meeting.
So
Unfortunately, I feel social media has become a toxic place, especially during this pandemic.
So
You have to you have to restart. You froze up for 5 very critical seconds there.
Oh, sorry. So I wanted to clarify on a Facebook post that I was called on last night after I made a comment on the Kmart parcel at the board meeting. Unfortunately, I feel social media has become a toxic place, especially during this pandemic, and I do not like to indulge in conversations on Facebook. Under such, additionally, I like to keep social media light and for fun. I reached out to our planning director, Kristen Bouchard, today for help in finding some of these documents. I'll email the links to the documents that I'm referring to in my statement to the committee right after our meeting. I was asked where the survey results were posted. Let me make it very clear here. I did not say there was any formal survey that was conducted about the current redevelopment ideas. First, an Acton 2020 committee, and one of our primary tasks was public outreach. During the outreach phase, time and time again, revitalizing Kelly's Corner rose to the top of conversations. The Acton 2020 plan was successfully adopted by the Planning Board and Town Meeting in 2012. In the plan, it clearly states that a high priority action item is to redevelop Kelly's Corner into a mixed-use town center. The Acton 2020 website details all the extensive public outreach conducted. Action item 1.2.2.1, develop Kelly's Corner into a mixed-use town center and transportation hub. Prepare a development plan for Kelly's Corner as part of the Key Centers plan. Not to worry, I will email you guys the link. Based on the directive from the approved Acton 2020 master plan, the town took the next step and created the Kelly's Corner Improvement Initiative Plan through multiple years of public outreach. Based on the public feedback at an in-person forums and kite surveys, the majority of the participants favored mixed use, followed secondly by commercial and retail center. The third alternative option, that was the baseline approach, essentially no change, received the fewest responses. The plan is available online along with all the documented public outreach conducted. Second, I have helped extensively in the outreach for the Kelly's Corner infrastructure project along with others. As I mentioned last night, we did a grassroots outreach to most people in town. We were invited to make presentations on the infrastructure plan. There was a lot of talk regarding the Kmart parcel. People over the years have indicated a desire for Kelly's Corner to be more walkable, safer, and make it a place with character. People want a safe place for their children to walk up to after school. It certainly has a lot of potential if we can attract the right developers that can bring about the vision the town has stated documents. But like Selectman Benson noted, the retail climate has changed a lot, especially during this pandemic. I hear others who mention that they would like to see a big box store in Acton. I can tell you that my father, when he was alive and was living with us, always liked to shop at Kmart. There have always been some residents in the community who did not support any development and wanted to keep Kmart as is. But it's important to acknowledge what the community has adopted through formal, rigorous public outreach processes and adopted plans. And just to keep my sanity, I will not be checking every message on every Facebook group. My only request is for folks to do their own research before commenting and not assume that everything they read on social media is a fact. Thank you.
That's a lot to ask of our current people, given their behavior, but I wholeheartedly agree. Mike?
Okay, yeah, obviously I agree 100% with Sahana. She's absolutely right. This Kelly's Corner is too important a project and too important a location for Acton to just give it away to the first retail client that has whose check will clear. If the Ocean State job lot really want to come to town, I think we could easily find them some primo space on Great Road in 2A. We have some empty storefronts. We can consolidate some space. We can really, I'm sure, between the Concord line and Acton, we can find enough space to accommodate what they want to do. I would also propose that the town manager reach into his pocket and maybe take 10, 20 grand and hire an urban planner to really work on that Kelly's Corner site to illustrate the possibilities based on the needs that were identified from the outreach several years ago. That would include the mixed use concept, maybe some senior housing, some retail, or whatever those comments were, but hire a professional, come up with an urban plan of possibilities for that site, and then work with a developer saying, this is, this is what the town would really like, and we're willing to work with you, and you can make a buck, we can make a buck, we'll all be happy. It could be a win-win situation, but instead of chasing Ocean State Job Lot away, we can identify an alternative location for them on Great Road, which is better from a traffic point of view and access to different towns, Concord, Acton, Littleton, Westford, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my 2 cents.
Roland.
2 things. So we do have a dollar store or whatever that is up in Magog right near Steve Noon's. They seem to be healthy. Whenever I look at a Target, I wouldn't mind. Their stores are always like 2 to 3 times the size of what that Kmart building is. So I believe that if Target wanted to come in, they'd want a much larger building than what's there now. And how would you be able to accommodate that? And the amount of parking they would need and everything else. It seems like that spot is too small for them. But unless they're willing to put in a smaller store and not carry their full line, keep in mind they also carry groceries, which also then impacts Roche Brothers right around the corner, and Donlands and Trader Joe's and Stop and Shop too as well. So I know Kmart did, but not to the extent that a Target does. So that being said, I just don't see that as a site for Target because it's just not big enough. I wouldn't mind a dollar Ocean State Job Lot, man. It wouldn't bother me. I think it'd be great.
Dave?
Thanks. So one of the statement at the end of John's letter that was passed along said the board may also reconsider in executive session the town purchasing the Kmart. And, I'd just like to remind the committee that the town has a very poor history of being involved in these sorts of land purchases. Front of mind are the last several, which is the Walker property, the property purchase for $1.8 million. That encompasses the Kennedy landscaping and some other properties that was going to be built into a daycare center that the town didn't like. Subsequent to that, several committees were formed to say, hey, we own this property, what do we do with it? Because we really don't know. And then following that was the River Street property in South Acton, which was supposedly supposed to be bought with CPC funds. The town ultimately purchased and ended up having a significant amount of liabilities associated with it. So I just want to be clear, I'm firmly opposed to purchasing property using the town's checkbook and saying, what should we do with it? I think we should have a very, very specific plan if the town would go down that road. And I know it's probably premature, but I just want to get that out on the table to begin with. Otherwise, I would certainly encourage private development of the spot in whatever form is coherent to the rules and regulations and guidelines in that space. But chasing away, Ocean State Job Lot because some portions of the town don't like that idea, or a big box retailer, I think is just bad form, and it certainly doesn't promote a business-friendly Acton, which is something we've talked about in the past. I personally don't know much about Ocean State Job Lot and that business, but it sounds relatively similar to Kmart. And I think we just want to be really careful if there's an opportunity to develop the property post-pandemic. Whatever changes, I certainly think private developers would have a use for it that may not be what the town's holistic interest is directly or indirectly in, but they certainly have a use for it that can generate some kind of economic return. And it's really difficult to just sign off on other projects because we just don't like them, or sign off to reject them because we don't like them. So. Again, I'm putting the cart before the horse here, but I just wanted to get that out on the table that the town does have a long history with these sorts of land purchases, and they tend not to work out very well at all for the taxpayer. And I think we should all keep that in consideration.
Jason.
Yes, I have one question, and then there's just a couple of comments. My first question is that how much revenue are we receiving for this parcel as it is now? I'm assuming Stop and Shop has a vested interest in staying current on its tax bill, and making sure that doesn't get taken out from underneath them. But what is the delta, and would it be a meaningful delta if the parcel were actively used for a big box store or something else along those lines? I'm assuming, Mr. Barrett, that the delta is not great now versus another Ocean State job lot, but that the delta could be quite sizable if one of the more ambitious or more wide-ranging plans is put into place. Am I accurately characterizing it?
Well, I'd say, actually, good evening, everybody. I'd say that I do not know off the top of my head the current taxes paid on the parcel. But I think generally you have it, Jason. If it was purchased and there wasn't, a ton of improvements or things like that put into the property, it wouldn't materially change the valuation and therefore the tax base. But, in our line of work on valuations, it has to do with, construction in place and infrastructure improvement. So, yeah, I think you pretty much characterize it accordingly.
Thank you. So for the rest of the committee, that means from my perspective that we may be losing a very small amount of revenue in this fiscal year versus 2 years ago when Kmart was making money and therefore potentially we could get a little more out of the Stop and Shop costs as per the valuations. But that if an Ocean State job lot or a Target were to come in, it wouldn't have a material impact moving forward. Whereas potentially a much larger development could theoretically have an upside potential gain to the town. I'd like to thank Mr. Benson for his comment in both his letter and probably when he was speaking to Stop and Shop as well, that it is unlikely to expect that we be willing to entertain a change in zoning. I would like to say that hiring a developer to go and take a look at, or hiring an analyst to go and take a look at what could be done on that land is probably going to mean that they do come back with a mixed housing, mixed use recommendation. Respectfully, I hear that the Acton 2020 survey and the Kelly's Corner Steering Committee believed in mixed use residential, but I am not in favor of it, and I definitely said so when I took the survey many years ago. I don't believe that hiring a developer-friendly analyst would properly take into account the costs to our school district and the overall population density of a town that is only 2 miles shy of being outside of I-495 and being fully extra-urban. I completely echo Mr. Wellinghoff. If the town is interested in buying this parcel, it should only be after having a complete, holistic, and fully laid out and fully bought into plan before the purchase. I am categorically opposed to buying the land first and then asking what to do with it later. I find that completely unacceptable. It has been my stated position for the entire time that I've been on the Finance Committee that the Kelly's Corner should remain 100% commercial. And to that end, the options that were laid out in Mr. Benson's memo, the one that I'm most interested in is the Life Science Research Facility, as I think that very cleanly complements the most recent, very large-scale commercial change that occurred up in Nagog Park. I think those two entities would be a fine complementary or even a creative approach. So I hear what you say, Sahana, about Acton 2020 and Kelly's Corner. I was against it then. I was very vocal about it then. I came to large public disagreements with previous members of the Finance Committee about turning Kelly's Corner into mixed-use residential. And I would say be very careful about hiring a developer-friendly analyst, because we can tell you what he's going to say already. Mr. Benson's absolutely correct. They're going to feed us lines about how we have to have mixed-use residential, or it's not going to be economically beneficial for the developer. Respectfully, it is not our responsibility to make it economically feasible for a developer. It is our responsibility to protect the overall interests of the town. And I do not believe that putting many units of residential use directly across the street from two of our elementary schools, our only junior high and our only high school, is going to be good economically for our town. Thank you.
Steve?
Yeah, so I've been to a few Ocean State job lots. It's a perfectly nice store. I would not expect any significant investment or improvements. I would consider them a notch below Kmart in terms of cleanliness and organization. So I wouldn't expect they're going to spiff it up too much. That said, there's one in Leominster that's close enough for me.
You can go to Bedford.
So I have nothing against Ocean State job lot. I go there fairly frequently, but that's not what I would consider what we want in that piece of property. So I'm just going to say what I don't want. And I'll just be negative tonight. I also don't want to buy it. I don't think I don't think we have the skills, and I share some of Jason's concerns about hiring a developer type consultant. There's lots of people who do property development. John's absolutely right that the world's changed since 2020, and small scale commercial restaurants and shops probably aren't viable right now. Doesn't mean we can't still do something. I think we'd have to find the right developer. So I'm inclined not to do a lot right now. I know this comes across as negative. No job lot, don't buy it. Take your time and find the right developer, but that's happened to be what I believe.
If I may, Madam Chairman, I just want to add on to what he just said. There's no super urgency to buy it if, as Mr. Barrett said, we're getting our same tax revenue from Stop and Shop right now as it is. It may be a blight on the community, but we're getting our money from it. I'd rather let it sit than make a mistake.
1 second, Mike. John, you had said previously to us that developers want mixed use. Have you heard from any developers about that now? Because it seems like mixed use can't be.
Well, it's not. You know what we've heard is most developers want to do large scale housing. John and I,
so they've shifted to housing, not mixed use.
One person we heard mixed use, but this summer we sat down with because they asked to come by, and John asked me to join. Two different developers. One who wanted to put as many as 225 rental units on the property, nothing else. And another one who wanted to put about 175 to 190 condominium units, owner units. No interest in any sort of retail or restaurants. There's a large market out there for residential rental units, condominium units, people Mike's age, Steve's age, my age, who were, looking to, downsize.
Ancient.
Pardon? Yeah.
Ancient.
There's just a market for that, and they would look at a place like the Kmart parcel as just ideal. The area is being revitalized. It's right by a whole bunch of stores. It's very good.
But they can't do that unless we allow the town supports a zoning change. Right?
Yeah, there would have to be a zoning change. Yeah.
Okay, so that's not going to happen.
As I've said to people who've asked, I said, to developers, it's not at all. The town's not going to be interested.
Yeah.
Waste your time. And to people in town who are fearful of it, I say it's got to be a zoning change, and the town's going to want to know exactly what's going on in that parcel.
And just to voice what Jason and Steve have said, the town doesn't know how to develop a property. I think we should stick with our strengths.
Yeah, the reason why I put that last sentence in there is I wanted to give the board, all options, because I knew in the course of the discussion, it certainly came up that people would have sort of ideas that were sort of a little out there, and the only way you're going to do those out there ideas is if you own the property. So, there's one developer said to me, he said, you can go to Stop and Shop and say, look, they're looking for $6 million. We'll buy it from you for $3 million. And you can take a $3 million, tax related deduction. Would that be interesting if you got it for $3 million? But you're in the same position. Municipalities aren't in the business of developing, properties, and it would take a huge amount of political will, and it really, would be very, complicated to do that. So, no, I just put it out there to give them an option.
Christine.
When we were making the case for the Kelly's Corner updates, we sort of went out of our way to make it clear to those who were worried that the updates were going to lead to housing in that development, that couldn't be accomplished without zoning restrictions changing, which we had no intention of doing. So I feel that it would be a little disingenuous to turn around and start talking about zoning changes of any form that weren't exceptionally limited. My thinking being age restricted and not the whole parcel. I think that the concern that I heard from Mr. Benson in our earlier meeting was that if we didn't open ourselves up to some form of zoning change, that we would end up with a box store we might not like. And I can tell you that I'd prefer a box store that I don't like. And I don't love Ocean State's job lots, but I'd prefer that to going down the path of any kind of zoning change, unless it was an incredibly attractive offer.
Roland.
So I just want to point out too that we're talking about this whole thing in retail and all that. There are two vacancies, one where the old Johnny Rockets was and the one next to that is vacant. We have where AAA was, there's a vacant spot. And then where McDonald's used to be, which is a complete eyesore. And and I don't know who owns that property, if that's owned by Stop and Shop, or is that a separate parcel, or what is that? And hopefully the taxes are current on that lot as well. So there are other retail storefronts in town that are vacant. You just drive 2A where you see where Willow Books was and the Hub Insurance and that building, that's completely vacant now. So we just can be kind of cognizant when we're not to turn down business that wants to come here when we have vacancies and empty parcels. And it's better to have something there than have nothing. Just have a vacant building and a blight on the community.
Mike.
I actually agree with Jason in the sense that we should go slow, but I would say go slow with a sense of urgency, if that makes sense. And I think if we do hire, and I still advocate that we hire an urban planner that will put on that site, at least the design, basically the criteria that Acton 2020 has come up with, their list of needs and wants. And that's what, the guy would work for us. He'll put on that site a logical and attractive layout, but whatever criteria we give them, and then he would also be able to critique it from his professional point of view. But the commercial market is not, this is not 1980. This is not even 1990. It's not even 2000. It's a tough business. I know I got my start building shopping centers. We couldn't build them fast enough. Now, every 6 months there would be a new one somewhere. It'd be bigger, better, more beautiful than the next. And now, they're being demolished. So it's a tough business. I think we have to be as flexible as we can and as innovative as we can. And I like John's idea. Maybe we could sort of work a deal with Stop and Shop and maybe be a co-developer or at least be an influencer. But until we know exactly what it is we want to put there, we would like to see there, we have to be able to quantify that instead of just asking the man on the street what his opinion is. We need to do a formal survey and come up with a list of needs. The EDC, by the way, is doing, they're surveying every business in town along 2A from the Littleton line to the Concord line, up 27 and all the places in between. So we could really have a list of vacant properties and that we can hopefully start to market. But for example, between Brook Street, which is around Rapscallion, and the Concord line on Great Road, how many business properties do you think there are? I'll beat you to it. It's 131 business properties, of which 122 were occupied and only 9 were vacant. But this is from Brook Street to the Concord line. So that's really just in numbers, a 6.9% vacancy, which is not bad. But the problem is really much more serious than that because some of the vacancies are pretty big boys, like the Joseph A. Banks, the Pier 1 imports, and properties like that. So I think we could, if Ocean State really wants to come into town, we could probably accommodate them, but we'll give them a better location. Great Road would be a better location than Kelly's Corner. That's my opinion.
Jason.
I definitely agree with Mike about finding a better location for Ocean State job lot. But what I would like to disagree with him a little bit about is I do not want to hand over the findings of the Acton 2020 and the Kelly's Corner Steering Committee and have that be the starting point of the criteria that we give to any new developer. I think we need to do a more. There's always the risk of I want a park and I want a deli and I don't want my taxes to go up. And you can't necessarily have everything that you want. So I would like us to be very careful about what criteria we give to an urban planner. And rather than say we want mixed use, I would rather we say to the urban planner, we want to know the possible impacts to the school-age community, the potential number of students. We want to know what this does on the balance, on traffic, on water, on everything, not just, hey, we heard on a survey 10 years ago we want mixed use. So just be very careful not to just hand that over, please. Thank you.
And how much are you willing to spend to get that information?
Me, not that much, but that's your that was your idea. That's your plan. I understand that you want an urban planner. If you want an urban planner, I'd rather see a life sciences building go in, one and done, leave it 100% commercial. It meets all of my goals, rather than go back on something from a previous time.
Yeah, but life sciences could mean a pot shop. Is that what you mean?
No. It's not a pot. No, there'll be no pot shop there.
You know my position on that, Mike. I'm not against it.
I know.
So
Can I go? Okay. Just to get back on what Roland said about, I would rather see Ocean State job lot and not push businesses away. we need to understand we had Kmart for all these many years. Once the lease is out by Stop and Shop, we might be stuck with Ocean State for the next 20 years. And we were trying, and going back to Jason's thing, it was not 10 years ago. These surveys were done as little as probably, I don't recollect right away off my mind, but the initial ones were done in 2012. The other ones were a little bit later with the Kelly's Corner committee that was formed, and some of the stuff, the outreach was done much later than that. So it's a vision. We cannot discount what people had said and all those efforts that we did for something that we want something different right now. So we have to consider that into our conversations.
Anyone else? No? Thank you very much, John. I hope that helped.
Okay, yeah, we will be discussing it again at our meeting on February 1st, and I was certainly going to reach out to the Kelly's Corner Steering Committee. They're meeting later in February, and the EDC will be meeting the first week in February to, get more. We're just trying to be, proactive and be on top of things. And when you don't own the property, you don't have the control. That doesn't mean you can't have your ear to it, and that's what we're trying to do. So thank you all very much, and good evening.
Thank you. Do you need me to demote you back to attendee?
Oh, is that okay? Do that, and then
I think I can.
yeah.
Change role to attendee. There you go. Okay. Next up is the ALG update. A lot of it was us presenting the point of view. It was well received. It helped that the Board of Selectmen and School Committee had recently heard from the public that they were upset about their recent increases in the tax bills. Afterwards, we had a little questioning of the median household income numbers that we have, that I think we need to actually track down that a little more. Christine?
So since that last email I sent you, I did a little more research. So one of the issues with the median household income is it's really hard to get up-to-date numbers. When you're looking for specific data from the government, you're getting census numbers and projections. I'm using one set of census numbers, and the town was using another set of census numbers. And I found another site that used a more mix of data that included more up-to-date information. But what the important thing I honestly need to bring to the table is that while we know that the unemployment rate is down, we actually don't have current median household information. And the precipitous drop we saw between last year and this year was, and this is completely my fault, we had always intended to attempt to switch over from household median income from family median income. And we didn't have all of the data to do that in every category until this year. So I had switched us to household median income, which is in fact a lower number anyway than family median income. And so it really looked to us like we were seeing a precipitous drop. And there may be a precipitous drop. We won't know that until we get actual data from, a couple of years out. So I have updated the reference to the number in the POV, and I've dropped the only place that came to light was in our second to last slide, where we discussed the drop in the rise in unemployment and the drop in household income. I just took that out because we cannot make that statement at this time.
And for the, we're comparing tax burden across previous years. Should we just talk about this when we get to the POV?
Sure.
Okay. The town is going to give us a presentation on the Q2 results at our February 9th meeting. So I'll just cover a little bit of it, and we'll get more into it later. The town hall is still closed to the public. There has been no deterioration in tax collection, so that's looking good. We'll have low interest income, unsurprisingly, which I believe, Mr. Barrett, is lower than we had expected at the time of the plan, correct?
Sorry, Madam Chair, can I get that again?
I thought you said that our interest income was projected to be down from what we had expected.
Yeah, it is. When we set our budgets for the year, our probably average interest rate was probably 1.2, 1.3%. That's going back, the fall, winter of 2019. Our average rate of return now on, risk-free funds is, 30, 40 basis points. So we are expecting a deterioration in our investment income. The good news, I think, now versus the recession we handled, 13, 14 years ago, was that this budget amount is a little over 100,000. Back then, when we had a lot more interest income, the investment income budget was about 700,000. So, yeah, we see a deterioration in a $100,000 a year revenue source.
Thank you. We don't have news on the excise tax because 80% of that is motor vehicle, and that goes out in February. It was pointed out that the community lot fund will have significantly lower revenue this year, so we have to keep an eye on what happens from that. As I recall, that is helped to fund something else, the revenues from that. So we'll have to see what comes out.
Transportation, Madam Chair, that
Thank you.
is a heavy contributor to our transportation program.
Thank you. The schools said that, hold on. There is some state money coming in for pooled vaccine testing. And they're saying that there could be some costs to the addition of, FaceTime is not the right word because that's a product, but having students be online with teachers more, or teaching assistants, that the state requirement came down. The school was not, or the district was not given a waiver on making that change. It remains to be seen what costs will come out of that or not. Jason, I believe you later on will talk to us about the building and
the building's kind of in a holding pattern. We've got the guaranteed maximum price, and we're off to the races. We're actually going to stop meeting twice a month and drop down to only once a month now that we're in the build out stage, and guaranteed maximum price is locked in.
Yeah, what Peter said was that it came in $6 million less than expected.
Careful with that. The GMP came in $6 million less than expected, which was a very good thing.
Yes.
Because the early change orders were running $4 to 5 million hot.
Yeah.
So we're back to being not underwater, but don't run around saying.
This is a good thing though. So you made up the contingencies that were used up. The
contingencies have been refilled, replenished, so to speak. Guaranteed maximum price was absolutely great to the upside, but that does not negate the fact that we've hit way more ledge than we ever expected, and we've had multiple changes in the layout in the busing line, which has a huge cost. So we're good now, or we're not as bad now as we were before. GMP is in place, and now we all need to pray for good weather and non-frozen ground.
So for those of us who are concerned about hearing about the constantly hitting ledge, this guaranteed maximum price decrease has cleaned up a lot of that.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, but we don't have $6 million to spend.
No, sir, we do not.
No. But we don't have a $6 million hole either.
The original sewer project ran in a tremendous amount of ledge as well. That's
There's a reason there are the stone walls everywhere.
Good fences make good neighbors.
Their school has gotten about $400,000. It is expected for the second round of CARES stimulus, but unlike the previous round, they have about 2 years to use this in. They had been considering or possibly still considering a fully outdoor town meeting, having the town meetings with the hybrid, as it was described, option costs, I think, somewhere like 40,000 was what they had said. So they're looking into whether it could be done entirely outside and what that would take. So it would be significantly cheaper. I was just told today that the Board of Selectmen chose on Monday to set the date for the town meeting to be Monday, June 21st. So get that on your calendar. And the school committee will have a final vote on the budget in March because of Boxborough's town meeting, whereas ours usually gets moved up a little. Hoping Christine will talk to us about anything from the school committee meeting, their initial budget conversations. Christine, did I miss anything there? Okay. Then I would like to move on to our next agenda item, which is going through the point of view to discuss the script part that goes along with it. I'm envisioning that we will just read the script on each page and make any edits. The notes.
Everybody has them, right?
No, you do. I was hoping, well, yes, but I was hoping you could bring them up.
I can. Do we, everybody has had them for 2 weeks now. Does anybody have any recommendations or changes they want? Do we really need to go through the whole thing again?
Okay, I need to understand then just what we're gonna do with those numbers, because we can't vote on this without.
Yep, let me just show you what the result of these numbers means.
Well, that'll make this even shorter.
Right? Okay, so let me make this a little bigger for you. So this number is still accurate. It is a change from last year in a significant way because it is a different number altogether. And the reason I was able to change this over to median household is because the way the census reports the number actually changed. And unfortunately, what that means is that everything you see previously is median family income. And I can't get median family income for FY20. Similarly, again, they've changed what they present. The website where I get this data has changed. I can't go back and look at previous year's median family income, unfortunately. So this is a very telling slide, but it's painting the wrong picture. So I have two options. We can drop this slide altogether, or I can get rid of FY20, and at least we show that tax bills have been a large percentage of income over the last few years, and we know as Actonians that has not changed. So I would like input on whether or not to drop this slide completely or to just drop the last column.
What about if you took median household income and put a line under that, have median family income, and start FY20 with median family income? So, and this, we can just explain that we changed it. And that way you won't have to, because I still feel this slide's pertinent.
And then let it bleed off over time.
Right, and then it'll bleed off over time as we, next year be 18, 19, 20, 21, and then in 4 years, median household is gone, it's just median family income.
I'm fine with that answer. If anybody has any objections.
I'm sorry, I was trying to figure something out. Could you please repeat that?
So what I understand, Christy, is they're saying to notate on the slide specifically where it changes from median household to median family. And then every year as we continue with the POV, we just slide it down and eventually household falls off the slide. But that it's still useful data as long as we don't, as long as we've got it delineated and we're clear about what you're looking at.
So in other words, we're adding another line.
Like a double.
Right below median household income, say median family income.
Yep.
20 FY20 on median household income would be blank. And then on median family income, 17, 18, 19 would be blank. and FY 20 be the 125,635.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to do the same then for the tax bill as percent of income, split that out as two separate lines.
I will do that.
What is your source for this new median household income?
Best places is sorry, I'm not gonna go there now.
Best places is what you're doing because that's a very different number from what they have in the American Community Survey.
It is. So Best Places is using a mix of current research and analysis, which again, this is the only site I could use that was using current research and analysis. The Census Bureau, the American Community Service Survey, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and the other thing that they told me they were using was the Department of the Current Population Survey.
Mm-hmm.
So they combine all of those with current economic indicators to create an updated median family income for our town.
So that's how we have a 2020 number, not a 2019?
Yes, because it's current. So if you say Acton, Mass median income, they're giving you what, with all of that information together, what the median income is today.
And that's for 2020.
And that's for 2020.
So we'll switch over to using this.
Yes.
Even though it was 125 and not 120.
I know. I'm sorry. I changed this, and then we were going to talk about this other graph, so I didn't change it yet. So if we're going to keep this graph, which I'm great with, I'll split it out. I'll amend it, as we're saying, split it out, make it clear where the change happens, and change the tax bill's percentage of income, so that we still have that data at our fingertips, but it's clear that it wasn't a jump the way it.
Yeah, having it be on separate lines, like
Yep.
you were saying, where it's like a step that moves over time. I think we'll make that clear.
Okay.
So we just can't talk about how shockingly bad the year was.
Right. So then here on our takeaways, we had unemployment is high and the median income has dropped precipitously. So I removed that part of this sentence. It doesn't change the fact that where we are right now, unemployment is high. That's it. Those should be the only changes. So we could vote as amended if you trust me to make those changes.
I'm sorry, you're going to update the note on slide 3 of what the source for the median household income is, right?
It's in right now.
I have to reload the page.
So that part's done.
Second.
Motion to approve as amended.
Hold on. Oh, okay. I'm not seeing it changed, but I'll go for. Yeah.
It's not in a copy I shared with you because of the iterations. This would be the final.
Can we get from them the data for the previous years? Or is Best
I
Places
haven't
only
been
the
able
current
to
year?
find it. It doesn't seem to have a historical. Now, maybe I can reach out to them and see if they can give it to me in some format, but I'd honestly just like to get this done.
Oh, yeah, it would just be great to have it actually be comparable data across the years because that's going to be.
And if I can get it, that's something that I can just give to all FinCom members to have as talking points and data. And I will.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Christine, can you take us out of screen view?
Yes.
Thank you. Roll call vote's easier if I can see everyone. Now we'll take roll call vote. Steve.
Aye.
Jason.
Aye.
Roland.
Aye.
Christine.
Aye.
Sahana.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Isha.
Aye.
Adam.
Aye.
And I say aye. All right. We're done with it. Now, meeting minutes to review. Does anyone have any amendments that should be made, changes for it at all? Okay.
Motion to approve.
Wonderful.
Second.
Wonderful. Okay, we have a motion to approve minutes. Steve.
Aye.
I should probably state the date, right?
That's great. I believe it's October 27th.
Yeah, so motion to approve the meeting minutes of October 27th. Second.
I think it's 27. Let me double check. 27.
to approve the minutes for October 27th, 2020.
Second.
All right, Steve,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Roland,
Aye.
Christine,
Aye.
Sahana,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Isha,
Aye.
Adam,
Adam.
okay, we're gonna, oh, he's
He's
finishing.
coming back.
I'm
back.
All right, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I say aye. Wonderful, meeting minutes have passed. Okay, committee reports. Who wants to start us off?
I don't have a report. I already said what I wanted to say about the school building committee. I do just have one quick point that I'd like to raise. If the annual town meeting is going to be Monday, June 21st, my quick calculation says that on January, February, March, April 12th, we should have the budget for us to review. And I would request that people start thinking about which sections of the budget they would like to take a deeper dive into. I'd like to request that we carve the budget up into appropriate pieces amongst the members, and make sure that we take ownership of the sections that we own. So, Mr. Barrett, if you'd like to tell the town manager, tell your boss, we'd love to see it before March 12th. But I believe that 100 days prior to town meeting is when it has to be in our hands. So by March 12th, January, February, April 12th, it has to be in our hands. If Madam Chair, if you don't mind, I'd like to reserve on a future agenda item that we carve up who wants to take over which sections of the budget for a deeper dive.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you. I have no other subcommittee report because school building committee is at guaranteed maximum price and life is good.
Sahana.
So as you all know, the Board of Selectmen met last night. There were quite a few updates. The first one was the town treated us with this. The Mass Municipal Association awarded the town of Acton an award for the work the town did for supporting small businesses during the pandemic. So that is congratulations to the town manager and the Board of Selectmen and all the town staff. The town also approved the last liquor license to carry beer and wine to its customers at Roche Brothers. I think the town has about 4 liquor licenses available, and this was one of the last one that was available, and now we carry beer and wine. Adapt the Bicycle Trail was awarded a grant of $7,500. So adopt a bicycle to use on trail. Sorry. My notes are being so haphazard here. Bear with me. Sorry about that. So the town of Acton is actually, they're still in the initial study phase with the town of Concord to regionalize the public safety dispatch system. So the studies are still being conducted, but this is something that the town is considering to do, so we should know more soon. The first sustainability director for Acton is on board. Her name is Andrea Vicara. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. Selectman Joan announced her resignation after the town meeting in June. So we thank Selectman Joan for her contribution to our town all these years. There was an update about, give me a second here. I got an email from Selectman Snyder Grant about this just a few minutes ago. The town actually, the EPA is working with the WR Grace site in South Acton, and there is a meeting that's going to be held on February 3rd at 7 p.m. And the site is .gov/superfund/Grace Acton. You can find more information there in that website. And if you go on Green Acton website, you would actually find more background information that they have up there. So we all heard that the town meeting is on June 21st. The details are still being worked out. March 1st would be the first budget presentation to the Board of Selectmen by the town manager, and he said he would also include the 10-year capital plan in it when he's presenting that. The Board of Selectmen also voted voted on the Recreation Department application, prioritized application for CPC funds. The order was, the first one was Dog Park, second one was Sports Pavilion at Nara Park, third one was Gardner Field, fourth is Jones Playground. This is their recommendation. They voted not to consider the Elm Street Court renovation. And I think that's about it. I hope I've covered everything.
Thank you. Anyone else? Christine.
Okay, bear with me because they talked a little budget at this last meeting. February, as a budget timeline, the school is planning February 4th to have version 1 of their budget with line details and SIP project funding updates to the school committee. So that's February 4th, with the second read through on February 11th. March 4th would be their comprehensive budget and program presentation instead of their budget Saturday. And then March 11th or 18th, they anticipate the school committee having their final vote on their budget recommendation.
I'm sorry, 1 second. The budget Saturday is, you said March 4th?
March 4th, they're going to have a comprehensive budget and program presentation.
And that will be online, I presume.
I believe it will.
Thank you.
They had a decrease in revenue from FY20 to FY21 of $362,000. They had a decrease in revenue from FY21 to 22 of $682,000, which puts them in a negative revenue position of $156,000. The decline in revenue is going to equal an increase in assessment. FY20 to FY22 salaries as a percentage of the budget, they actually went from 64.37% of the budget to 63.4%. So a slight decline in the percentage that's used for salaries and fringes. But capital debt went from 3.4% of their budget to 6.8% of their budget, as they've invested in the SIP program, obviously, except for last year when it went to 105% increase because they're paying for their twin school. Health insurance is projected to go up 6.8%. Middlesex is likely to go up 11.8% this coming budget cycle because they hired a bunch of bus drivers in 2019 to deal with busing issues that they had, and that staff, those bus drivers and other staff, are finally hitting the Middlesex assessment, so they're anticipating a really large increase. Salaries are going up 4%. They went up 3.4% last year and 4.1% the previous year. They looked at what a level services budget would look like. And just a level services budget would be a $3.6 million increase, and it would be 3.73%. That assumes almost $1 million use of E&D. And that means going back to pre-pandemic staffing. They're not planning to carry any new positions forward post-pandemic, but they are preparing mentally for all possible outcomes because it's still too early to tell what next year is going to look like. Less revenue next year is mostly a reduction in estimated transportation aid because there was a pause in busing and reduced busing now. So they're planning to try to transfer some money to their transportation stabilization fund to cover the estimated unfunded costs, because those transportation reduction costs are always a year behind.
So you're saying because fewer people are using the bus this year, they'll get less money for the bus next year, even if it goes back to everyone using it?
Exactly. So until we're a year out from everybody back to using the buses, the aid from the state is going to be reduced. What else? The effective level budget of 3.7%, and again, this is it's not what they're recommending. They're just telling us that if they did a level budget, would mean a 4.39% assessment for Acton of $68,040,000 and a 5.97% increase assessment for Boxborough, because projections are showing more students coming from Boxborough over the next few years. They have used all 2.5 million of the, or spoken for all 2.5 million of the COVID relief funding they've gotten to date. But the day of that school committee meeting, Dave Bertolino got an email from MEMA reaching out with new direction to FEMA to fully reimburse states for costs of emergency supplies. And a big portion of that was going to be directed towards schools. They didn't know exactly what that would mean per dollar for AB, but they are expecting more COVID-related relief money. But that doesn't really impact the budget because that's all COVID and emergency outside of the regular running of the schools. So they've got a lot of work to do. They are very aware of our position. Their budget subcommittee members reported on and were very aware of our position about as little or no tax increase. And we'll learn more from them soon, February 4th.
Anyone else? Okay. Kelly's Corner steering committee met. Everything is looking really good, with the one exception that the current estimate for streetlights is just south of $1 million. I'm sorry, pedestrian lights, sidewalk lights. And on the plus side, there's about 450,000, I think a little bit more than that, available unused from previous Kelly's Corner projects, contingencies and other things. So the hope is that they can get the approval to move that money over to be used towards this project. And I said, we pretty much are telling the town and everyone that there's about $460,000 that can be spent out of reserves, and we're going to be hard pressed to get the finance committee to agree that this is what it should be used for. So they were going to start studying where lighting could be reduced away from, or some way around it. It doesn't sound like there are particularly other good options. But if we don't put the lighting in now, the state won't pay for putting in all of the wires underneath, and that's really expensive and disruptive. That's the sort of thing where you need to pay for the police to direct the traffic and everything around. So it is more cost effective to put some in now, with a recognition that we probably won't ever go back and do any more of this until another major overhaul in the area, than it is to put nothing in. But they've been told that they're not likely to get our support on going for the full number, so I don't think they will bring that forward. We'll see how it goes. And that's it for me. Isha, do you have a motion for us? Hey, Adam, how about you?
I move that we adjourn.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made to adjourn. Steve?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Roland?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Sahana?
Aye.
Mike?
Hi.
Dave?
Aye.
Isha?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
And I say aye.